She thought she was just helping a stranger in need, but when the truth came out, her life changed forever. The small diner buzzed with the morning rush, the scent of fresh coffee and sizzling bacon filling the air. Anna Carter moved between tables, balancing plates with practiced ease. She was exhausted, working double shifts just to keep the lights on, barely making enough to survive. But quitting wasn't an option. Then the bell above the door jingled, and Dati, an older man in a tailored suit, walked in. He looked important, wealthy even, but there was something off. His steps were unsteady, his breathing uneven. Anna watched as he settled into a booth, gripping the table like he was trying to steady himself. She rushed over. "Sir, are you okay?" His face was pale, sweat beading on his forehead. Then he clutched his chest. A sharp gasp escaped his lips. He was having a heart attack. Panic surged through Anna, but she forced herself to stay calm. She had no medical training, but she had to do something. "Somebody call 911, she yelled, kneeling beside him. The man struggled for breath, his fingers twitching. Time was running out. Anna grabbed his hand. "Stay with me." The diner fell into chaos, but Anna didn't let go. She kept talking to him, kept him awake, refusing to let him slip away. Minutes later, paramedics stormed in. The man was rushed to the hospital, his life saved. Anna sighed in relief, thinking it was over. But she had no idea who she had just saved. And what happened next would change her life forever. 2 days later, Anna wiped down the diner counter, still shaken by what had happened. She hadn't been able to stop thinking about the man she helped. Had he made it? Was he okay? She didn't even know his name. The bell above the door jingled. She turned and froze. A sharply dressed man in a suit walked in. Not the man from before, but someone who looked equally important. He approached the counter, scanning the diner before his eyes landed on her. Anna Carter. Her stomach tightened. Yes. The man extended a hand. "I'm David Reynolds, personal assistant to Richard Lawson." Anna's breath caught. Richard Lawson. As in Richard Lawson, the billionaire real estate mogul. The man she had saved. She gripped the counter. "Is he okay?" David smiled. "Thanks to you, yes. He wanted to thank you personally, but he's still recovering." Anna let out a shaky breath. Relief flooded her, but confusion followed. Why was his assistant here? David reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope, sliding it across the counter. "Mr. Lawson asked me to deliver this." Anna hesitated before picking it up. Her fingers trembled as she opened it, and what she saw inside made her heart stop. A check for the say $250,000. Her breath hitched. This had to be a mistake. Her eyes snapped up. I can't accept this." David chuckled. "Mr. Lawson insists. He said you saved his life, and now he wants to change yours." Anna felt tears sting her eyes. In one moment, her entire world had shifted, and for the first time in years she realized she wasn't struggling anymore. Anna stared at the check, her hands trembling. This couldn't be real. $250,000? That was more money than she had ever seen in her life. She looked back at David. I don't know what to say." He smiled. "Just say yes." Anna swallowed hard. She wanted to accept it, but something held her back. "I didn't help him for a reward," she whispered. "I just did what anyone else would have done." David's expression softened. "And that's exactly why he wants to help you." She glanced around the diner, the chipped countertops, the flickering light above the register, the endless hours she had spent here just trying to get by. This money? It could change everything. She could pay off her debts, go back to school, maybe even start the business she had always dreamed of. She took a deep breath, looking back at David. "Are you sure?" David chuckled. "Very sure, and if you don't cash that check, Mr. Lawson will just find another way to help you." Anna let out a shaky laugh, finally allowing herself to smile. She had spent her life waiting for a break. And now, because of one act of kindness, she finally had one. She clutched the check to her chest and whispered, "Thank you." David nodded. "No, Anna, thank you." As he turned to leave, she realized something. She had saved a life that day. And now, that life had just saved hers. 1 year later, Anna stepped into a bright, bustling cafe. Her cafe. The sign above the door read, Anna's Corner. A place she had once only dreamed of owning. Now it was real. The scent of fresh coffee and pastries filled the air, customers chatted happily, and her employees, her team, worked with smiles on their faces. She still couldn't believe how much had changed. A year ago, she was barely scraping by. Now, she was a business owner. A familiar voice pulled her from her thoughts. "Not bad, Carter." She turned and smiled as Richard Lawson walked in, looking much healthier than the last time she'd seen him. "Mr. Lawson," she greeted, shaking his hand. "I was hoping you'd stop by." He chuckled. "I had to see what you did with my investment." Anna grinned, leading him to a cozy table by the window. It wasn't just an investment. It was a second chance. Richard looked around, nodding in approval. "And you didn't waste it." Anna exhaled, emotion welling up. "I wouldn't be here without you." He smiled. "And I wouldn't be here without you." Silence settled between them, not the awkward kind, but the kind filled with gratitude and understanding. Then Richard leaned forward, smirking. "So, what's next?" Anna laughed softly, glancing at the busy cafe. "I think I want to open a second location." Richard grinned. "Now that's what I like to hear." As he sipped his coffee, Anna realized something. This wasn't just a success story. It was just the beginning. 5 years later, Anna stood outside a brand new cafe, her 5th location. The bold sign above the entrance read, Anna's Corner, downtown. What had started as a single cafe funded by an unexpected act of kindness had turned into a thriving business. She took a deep breath, soaking in the moment. This was everything she had ever dreamed of, and more. A familiar voice broke her thoughts. "Not bad, Carter, not bad at all." Anna turned to see Richard Lawson, now retired, leaning on his cane with a proud smirk. She laughed. "You always show up at the big moments, don't you?" Richard chuckled. "Wouldn't miss it." They walked inside together, greeted by the aroma of fresh brewed coffee and warm pastries. Employees bustled behind the counter, serving smiling customers. A place filled with life, hope, and opportunity. Richard took a seat and glanced around. "So what's next?" Anna grinned. "Franchising. I want Anna's Corner in every state." Richard raised his coffee mug in approval. "That's what I like to hear." As they clinked their cups together, Anna realized something. One moment of kindness had rewritten her entire future. And now, she was paying it forward, one cafe at a time. Because sometimes, saving a life meant changing the course of your own.